Hi guys, happy Thursday. Welcome to the red light, green light call. Let's go to Steph, both Chris and Michelle Wyant. I need to step away just for 5 minutes just to return a call on a deal. And then, so I'm going to ask Jeremy to run point on the analysis, but I'll be listening to this in the background. So I'll be able to chime in at the end as well. So I'm going to hit my mute button and screen share is enabled. So Chris, Michelle, and Steph, over to you guys.
So this is a commercial cleaning business, pretty small. And for a little background, we own a commercial cleaning business, Michelle and myself. This one is smaller than ours. Steph is also in the cleaning business, so it's definitely in our lane. We definitely kind of understand where it is. A little background, this is a broker deal. We first looked at this probably 5 months ago and, kind of did all the numbers and went back to the broker and said, thank you, but no, thank you. This is just a little too small for us to make sense. And, that we thought that was kind of the end of it. And then, I don't know, a few weeks ago, maybe as much as a month ago, the broker came back to us and said, hey, they've lowered the price a little bit because they were definitely asking for too much. They're still asking for too much, but we went ahead and revisited the deal, tried to put together some creative offers, if you will, so it would make sense for us. Also thinking that maybe they've loosened up a little bit if they came back to us after 4 to 5 months. So we actually had a right before this call, we had a call with the broker. The seller is out of town. 5 months ago when we had a seller call, a lot of the way they do business, the way we do our business really kind of aligned, just in strategies and, quite frankly, limited marketing or customer acquisition, if you will. So, a lot of things lined up. It was just too small. We had a meeting with the broker, the seller's out of town, to really go over kind of a multi-deal structure, giving them some options, trying to steer them into a full annuity deal, or an annuity with a balloon. So it was received, I think, pretty darn well from the broker. So they need next week to present it to the seller, and we'll see where that goes. We're still thinking, we're not sure they're there yet. But we kind of think they're at least now open to some creative financing that maybe they were not open to before, because that's the only way it makes sense with us. So that's
And the
kind of a little
broker
background.
understands that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the
broker
broker is
definitely
more on board with the creative financing than the seller is.
Yeah, the broker, we had a meeting last week just to talk some things through, and she gave us a little bit of guidance on what the seller might be looking for, and really almost how to rephrase things to talk to the seller so they might better understand what we were trying to do. So we kind of redid the format of how we were doing our multi-offers, if you will, to try to better explain exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it. And, if we did go with an SBA or something, the interest rate environment is such that we're going to be offering half of what they're asking for, and that sort of thing. And she completely understood. So I'll let Steph walk through some of the numbers.
Yeah, so I saw that there were some questions kind of popping up about average multiples. The multiples are definitely on the lower side from the sub $500,000 businesses. But in this case, they're actually looking for a 6x multiple of adjusted EBITDA, which obviously won't make sense. The offer structure that we've put together is about $300,000 if we went with a SBA or other bank lender. which gives us a cover of just under 2. And our annuity structure and kind of annuity transition to SBA, both of those would be a 15-year amortization with either a 7-year balloon or a refinance in 12 months. And that would ultimately, if the seller decided to go with the annuity, she's open to and understands, tax implications and all the benefits, but I think it's just getting past the numbers. But the way that we've structured our annuity offer effectively pays the seller about $700,000, which with an asking price of 566, it's pretty beneficial for her, and it works for us too. And that cover is in the mid 2s. Questions?
Talking 10-year annuity?
15-year amortization.
So a couple questions that I have. So in the add backs and take backs line, what are those what are those for? Is there anything in there? Is there anything in there for like a GM or somebody to operate the business? How
Absolutely.
involved is the owner?
The owner is quite involved, but there is, I'm just going to pull it up separately. We've got an adjustment for the officer salary, an adjustment for personal vehicles, which would be removed from the business during the transaction. So some of the debt on the balance sheet would disappear effectively. And then there is a GM salary adjustment in there.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think that's my biggest concern with the cash flow is just making sure you get all the right staff in place, the team in place, and those types of things. What's the cash flow left over after that, and then being able to pay the debt service or whatever the annuity structure is that you come up with. I would definitely do this on an annuity type structure. SBA might be a little bit tough, but I know you guys are obviously in this industry, so it would be a great potential bolt-on for that. And I saw a question, maybe talk a little bit more about the customer concentration issue. It looks like one customer makes up about 22%. So what does that look like?
Yeah, and one of the reasons that is quite honestly, they don't have very many customers. I think 10 to 12 contracts. I think it was like 10, because that's why we said the top 10 customers are 100% of the revenue. So that's going to skew those. We think it's in an area that has plenty of opportunity for growth. They have a GM in the business who is being groomed knows the sales going on, is being groomed to take over. So the owner was the GM, but she's been stepping back really for probably the last year, grooming this person to take over. So that is accounted for. And then in the previous year, there's some skewing going on because they bought 2 personal vehicles, one for the owner, one for her husband. Took advantage of course, the depreciation, which is why there was a big, difference there, knowing that they're going to keep the vehicles, but they're going to keep the debt on the vehicles as well. So those numbers, we think the adjusted EBITDA numbers are very realistic, even knowing we added, I think, 50,000 for a GM, even though there is a GM who's already there, but we're going to have to pay them more because they're going to be the only person. Now they have support with the owner there. So.
Gotcha. The one other question I would have, so revenues, 2 years ago were about 200,000 and they jumped up, basically doubled, and now they're consistent the last 2 years. Was there any significant or any specific contract that led to that?
I think it was
they
more
started
COVID
this
related.
business at the tail end of 19, and then that was COVID related. And in this area, they didn't shut down for very long. So there was a push from all of these businesses to keep and maintain, janitorial. But they also, the big play for us here is they also do maintenance and do deep cleaning of specialty flooring in the janitorial space. And that in and of itself can generate quite a large sum of revenue, and they're not capitalizing on it.
Gotcha. Sarkis, what are your thoughts?
I think it's a fairly small business. I'm worried a little bit about the cash flow in this business. I'll be wary of any kind of debt planning or you're going to get into. Just make sure that that your cash flow is going to hold on to it. And like you said, there's only 9 customers. It's worthwhile to check the contracts, the longevity of those contracts, the relationship with those customers that they've got. And also, I think it's a little bit overvalued. And even if you're going to pay them more, it's going to be, I think you should come up with a better deal structure, maybe a little bit more creative, offer them closer to what your valuation. I mean, 4.5 multiple on this kind of returns is kind of too big. I'd probably go between 2 to 3 on this one. And if they want to get that $500,000 markup, then you can be creative about it. And so going annuity and profit share hybrid mix kind of thing, if it's possible to go that way. I understand that it's going to be like bolt-on, and you're going to have synergies from it and so on. So that could be a positive for them, for the seller in your deal structure that you can put together. But apart from that, it's fine. I think my biggest thing about this is the cash flow. I'm a little bit concerned about that, and just other mentions I said. So yeah, that's it from me.
So these businesses typically see it in this size range. To be honest, these businesses typically see anywhere from 15 to 19% profit, and overheads are typically in the 30% range. Looking at their books, they're well within that, and they actually exceed those. So it may not appear to be as profitable as maybe other businesses are, but this is actually better than we see a lot of these types of
guys,
businesses.
question from me, right? So I listened to most of it. I wasn't looking at the screen. I was taking a call, but clearly you guys have got businesses already in this space. And I don't know if it's in the same geographic location, but clearly, and we talked about this last week, Steph, on your deal with Christina, your chops in this space combined with that of Michelle and Chris, there's a ton of value that you can bring to this. So is this going to be like part of a roll up where you put your existing businesses into the pot, you put this in, and then you can just leverage all of your superpowers across all these different businesses and then just create a much bigger entity? Because to echo Sarkis,
that's the plan. The plan.
Yeah.
The plan is to create a much bigger entity, and this is something we looked at like months ago. We left it on the table because it didn't make sense for us. They came back to us and we said the only way that this is going to work is basically with an annuity.
Yeah.
And Chris and I and Michelle and Christina had the conversation too. Like, if they don't, we're not pushed to do this, and this was submitted last week, so we're like, we may as well present it. It's out there, so
yeah,
it's not like the ideal deal for us.
Yeah, so I like this
it's
as an
make
annuity
sense.
deal. I do like this as an annuity deal because there'll be economies of scale across your other businesses. I think rolling up in the cleaning space is definitely a great idea. I know it's something I've talked to Tracy a lot about over the last kind of 6 months or so. And yeah, I think you guys are clearly very, very strong in your respective businesses, and sprinkling some of that magic dust onto this deal, you can probably scale it quite quickly. But I think to echo all the other points, yeah, I don't think it's a deal I'd put a closing payment down, but it sounds like if the way the deal is right now, you can definitely do it. So when Chris was talking at the start, he talked about an annuity with a bullet. Like, just talk to me a bit more about that. Like, how are you going to do that?
So we were looking at a 15-year amortization term with a balloon at year 7.
Right. Okay. All right. So you're probably going to pay half of the deal in the first 7 years through the annuity, and then a bullet payment. And so, if you end up paying, $300 and whatever $1,000 for the business, that's a low cash burn for the first 7 years, and then that second payment, you don't need to grow it all that much really to be able to generate those resources. And you know, when you combine it with all the other things that you can do, I think that's a really cool deal structure. I like that.
We even offered the doing an annuity payment for the first year to give us the opportunity to get the business to a place where it can be SBA financed,
Yeah.
but it would be on today's valuation.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's the annuity option where it's a super
Mhm.
quick deal. You pay for it for a year, and then you've got to refi at the end of 12 months. Yeah, I like that as well. I think the thing I love about deals is when there's multiple ways to do it, right? When you've got multiple options on financing and structure, those are always the best deals, right? Because you've got lots of kind of pivot points. It's like with Jamie's deal and Josh's deal. There's 10 ways you can finance that business. So that's why I know it's going to be a great deal for them. And I think with this, you know, your ability to get super creative combined with the relationship and the know, like, and trust you build with the seller, and your ability to leverage your superpowers from your other businesses as you bolt them all together, great deal. So I like it. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
Yep. And just to kind of echo a little bit, you know, the idea would be, we know this is on the small side, which is why we kind of told them 4 months ago that, you know, it's too small. But the thinking is, if this one's on the small side, but if we can get another one like this and a third one even this size, and you know, by the time we get to 3, 4, 5 of them, all of a sudden it is doing $2 million. And guess what? Our existing accountant and bookkeeper can take care of everything. We can definitely, a lot of that back office stuff will be able to be taken care of. So that's kind of the thought process.
Cool. Alrighty. Perfect. Any other questions for Steph, Chris, and Michelle? David Geralt, we've missed you, man. Come and say your thing. Come on the Zoom and say your thing.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Good to be back. Yeah, my concern is there's still, I know, Carl, you often say, look, I'll pay $10 million for the business as long as I can pay for it at $1 a year. But at some point, massively overpaying the seller for a business, they haven't really built an exceptional business here. They've got 10 customers. They've got customer concentration issues. The earnings are pretty volatile. And businesses in this size, I mean, they're not 4.5x businesses, even if you can stretch out the payment. So that's my concern is, are you really overpaying for this deal because you're excited about being creative and doing the annuity deal? So I'd like to see the valuation get brought back a little bit more into range. And then, yeah, if you could do the 15-year with a 7-year balloon, I think what I'd probably do is sock aside the extra cash so that in year 7 you can just write the check.
And that's kind of our perspective on things. We wouldn't refinance at 7 years. It wouldn't make sense.
Okay, cool. All right. So no more questions on that. Eldon hates the deal. Gave it a red light 80. Ouch. I was a green light 40 on this. As I said in my comments, as an annuity deal and as part of a roll up and consolidation, I'm cool on that valuation. I'm cool on that deal.